Welcome back, and thanks for joining me on another episode of the Politically Dotted Line. In today's episode, protests in U.S. history. Here comes the Boston Tea Party. The Boston Tea Party, December 16, 1773. As a result of the Tea Act of 1773, the colonists demanded that the tea be returned to England. Massachusetts governor at the time, Thomas Hutchinson, refused. At that time, other major ports had already refused shipments of the tea. Patriotic leader Sam Adams organized the Tea Party, with 60 members of the Sons of Liberty, his resistance group. That night, he and his men boarded the 3 ships in the harbor, the Dartmouth, the Eleanor, and the Beaver. Dressed as Mohawk Indians, they dumped nearly 90,000 pounds of tea into the harbor. In the aftermath of this event, a very enraged British Parliament enacted the Coercive Acts of 1774, which closed Boston Harbor to merchant shipping and formed British military rule. This made British officials immune from criminal prosecution. It also forced colonists to house British troops. This in turn made the colonists take action. The colonists called for the First Continental Congress to plan a united American resistance against Britain. Due to new taxes imposed by Britain over the last decade, the American colonists had had enough. These taxes include the Sugar Act of 1764, the Currency Act of 1764, the Quartering Act of 1765, the Stamp Act of 1765, the Townshend Acts of 1767, and then the Tea Act of 1773. By refusing to pay taxes to the British, as well as dumping tea into the harbor, inevitably led to the Revolutionary War in 1775. On July 4, 1776, America won its independence from Britain. Free of British rule in 1776, America was given a fresh start. Free of taxation. So you wonder, when did things change? In 1791, the first president, George Washington, tried to enact the whiskey tax to help pay for the Revolutionary War. This started the Whiskey Rebellion from 1791 to 1794. It proved unsuccessful, and the tax was revoked. America would make it 67 years until the first income tax. On August 5, 1861, President Lincoln enacted the first income tax to pay for the Civil War. This tax was repealed in 1872. 33 years later, another tax was enacted, this time on personal property and rental property. It was sold as a tax on the rich, but was found to be unconstitutional in 1895 and was repealed. In 1913, the Federal Reserve was created, as well as the income tax, which started as a 1% tax on people making up to $20,000 a year, up to as high as 7% for people making $500,000 a year. So what are the taxes today? Here's a short list of the taxes you pay now in 2017. Income tax, property tax, sales tax, state tax, federal tax, 2 types of gas tax, unemployment, tobacco, alcohol, local taxes, road usage, license, capital gains, real estate, utility, luxury, excise, telephone, registration, fast food, social security, hunting and fishing licenses, self-employment tax, Medicare, gift tax, gains tax, gambling winning, inheritance, licensing, building permits, septic, land use, corporate taxes, tolls, workers' compensation tax, plus many other fees and fines. So with all this talk about taxes, you may wonder, has there been any protests since? There really weren't. From 1894 till 2009, there was a small Tea Party movement in 2009, which I will go into detail in another episode. Here are a few reasons people may have lost their desire to revolt. The distractions of the 1900s. The First World Series in 1903. Hockey started up in 1917. Football, 1920. Basketball, 1946. The average family car in 1920. Talking motion pictures. Amusement parks in 1919. Televisions in the 1950s. Electricity. Telephone, microwave, arcades, video games, PCs, movie theaters, interstate highways, the stock market, grocery stores, refrigerators, casinos. I rambled through those pretty quickly, but can you imagine just for a second your life without electricity, telephone, TV, computers? So perhaps all of these newer distractions have stopped us from being outraged or even truly informed as to what our government is doing. When your family is fed and you have clothes, heat, and hot water, and the latest technology at hand, your worries about government are put on the back burner. The best we can hope for these days is a Facebook meme or a Twitter post, just a little disgust with our government, and then usually it's always divided, Democrat, Republican. liberal, conservative. Where's the talk about taxes again? Where's the talk about government spending, i.e. the people's money? With all these modern things, is there anything that would push you far enough to give them up? To fight back against these far-reaching and excessive taxes? In the end, I challenge you to look at your own life, look at your taxes. What are you really paying after everything's said and done? Thanks again for listening to the Politically Dotted Line, and we'll see you on our next episode. Goodbye.